Welcome to the Crypto Freedom Summit. I'm your host, Yanni, and now I have DeFiTrader here as my guest. Welcome.
Hey man, how's it going?
Yeah,
It's great to be here.
yeah, for sure. Great to have you here. Thanks for coming. And first of all, I would like to know that what you actually do at the moment. Are you full-time crypto, or and how does it look like?
Yeah, right now I'm full-time crypto. I got into this full-time about a year ago. I was previously doing like networking and like administration and have like a little bit of experience with Forex trading as well. So that's been a really benefit, I'd say. Crypto is so multifaceted. There's so many different, vectors within crypto, and to have like that background specifically, I'd say has been a great benefit to me. So yeah, I'm doing this full time, and you have to really stay doing this full time if you want to, keep up to date with everything because it moves so fast. So I do this at least like 12 hours a day. You got to be plugged in. I would say at least 12 hours a day. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty easy as long as you do that.
yeah, I can absolutely relate. It's a crazy amount of development, at the speed of development and everything. It's like hard to keep up with.
Yeah, even for me, I do it full time, and I can barely keep up, and I miss a bunch of stuff. A
Yeah,
lot of things just completely pass over my radar because it's just too much for just one person, honestly. Because there's so many people that are now involved within crypto. It's not just a small thing anymore. This thing's just grows at an exponential rate that it's going to be hard to keep up with it.
yeah, absolutely. I hope we get today a bit more clarity, to this whole space as well during this interview. You said that yeah, you are full-time crypto and it's like 12 hours a day and so, but how would you define yourself as a trader? Or are you like a trader or investor, or how would you?
Yeah, I think as being a trader, it's all about, there's a seller and there's a buyer always. That's how things happen with exchanging of value. So I think with everything, you have to see it from that perspective at the most basic level. And then DeFi is so encompassing, and um, having both of those mindsets of just understanding like the fundamentals of each project, but also being able to trade. I don't really do day trading, but to understand when to buy something, when to sell something is critical. So yeah, I don't do day trading per se. What I've been specializing in is yield farming. Over the past couple of years, yield farming has really blown up from the primitives of DeFi. So DeFi has only been around really about 2 years. It started with MakerDAO, Uniswap, and the oracles like Link. You had to have these building blocks to even do most of what we're seeing today on DeFi. So back in the day, we only had really like MakerDAO, um, and then we had Uniswap later. So those two pieces right there were fundamental for the Cambrian explosion we're seeing right now within DeFi. So I don't per se trade, but I would define myself as a trader because the most fundamental thing of what I do is buy and sell things, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I would phrase it.
Yeah, it seems like, yeah, really like that, at least a good understanding of the, for example, like the market cycles and that kind of stuff. It helps you to at least somewhat time also what you are doing, like investing and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so if we go a little bit back in time, like how you actually got into crypto, I guess the DeFi scene, you could say, I guess it started around last summer. I think at least more or less happening. It seems like. But when did you got into the crypto and DeFi?
Yeah, so I got into crypto very early back in 2012. I first heard about Bitcoin, and then I really got invested into it in 2013. I bought it on this little exchange called Verox, which was actually selling other digital assets, but linked to like games. Maybe you've heard of like Second Life, but they used to sell the Linden dollars, which was the currency within the game. But you could also exchange the Linden dollars at that time for Bitcoin. The exchange is no longer up or anything; it's shut down. But that was literally the fastest way to onboard onto crypto, and also another way called Bit Instant which was a very convenient way as well. So um, doing wire transfers over to Mount Gox took forever.
Mm.
So I got into Bitcoin like around that time, and I've been keeping up with the developments of it, seeing the forking wars that we've seen. We saw the DAO, big events happen within crypto. So, we've seen China ban, crypto multiple times. Now they're full on CBDC. So we see how there's huge paradigm shifts happening throughout this span of, I've been within crypto about 8 years. And it's incredible to see the unfolding and it evolve from something so nascent, from something just beginning with the Satoshi's white paper, and to see all of these, I would say like the best product market fit for anything besides like money as an application would be all these DeFi applications. So that was a great product market fit for blockchain technology. Like during 2017, it was a great invention that we had um, that really took off that in that time, which was the ICOs. We had an incredible invention that was released into the world, which we can raise capital in a decentralized manner now. That's incredible to be able to do that. So now, thanks to Satoshi, we have these primitives being built up from blockchain technology. Um, so yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that was a nice of a history. Would you say like well, you've been here for a while then. It's nice to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got in. Let me like go over a little bit more about how I got into DeFi though. So it all started kind of with MakerDAO, and then with Uniswap. Um, Seeing these pieces fit together and be able to be composable. This was a word I was not familiar with at the time. Composability. I don't think a lot of people knew what that word was before they got into DeFi. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. But me personally, I didn't know what that word meant. And um, being and seeing the dynamics of that really opened up my eyes to the huge potential that this was going to unleash on the world. Um, to have these financial primitives, where all this is financial services and products that are now open to the whole world versus, the old ways of doing stuff. We had these walled gardens, where only you know, the selected and hand chosen could partake in it. So to me, that's a huge motivator for me, just because I'm a huge lover of freedom in all aspects, and I see the huge potential to that, not only from my personal freedoms, but as far as my financial freedom as well, where I see huge rooms for opportunity because we're so early.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I guess it's not always so easy to like understand how early it actually is when
Yeah.
you are in it in the space yourself. It's like a bubble you're in yourself. So it's like hard to imagine like how early.
Yeah. I tell people though, because I talk to a lot of people that are getting into this for the first time, and they always feel like I always get the sense that they feel like they're late.
Mm.
And you know, I got to tell you something that back in 2013, I was super reluctant to buy Bitcoin because I felt that I was late in 2013 buying Bitcoin. So you can only imagine how early we actually are with everything DeFi, like decentralized everything. We are super early, and money is the first application. And I think even with Bitcoin, we are super early. So you can only imagine with these new financial primitives that have only been alive for the past uh, 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, very good points. What do you would say, like, about fear of missing out? You know, like, because if you feel like you are late to the party, you feel like, you know, and since there's so much going on in the space, you feel like you want to be involved with everything, and you cannot buy all the coins and projects, and you cannot farm everything. So, like, how do you have any tips on that? Like,
Yeah,
how we could have less of this FOMO?
yeah. So I've experienced FOMO before, and it was actually with Bitcoin. Was my first experience with the FOMO. So, and that's actually the one that has paid off for me. You know, FOMOing into Bitcoin was, I think, one of the rare cases where FOMO actually has benefited me. FOMO usually hurts me when I give into it. So I acknowledge it. It's just an emotion that I understand now. So whenever I sense FOMO, whenever I feel that feeling like, okay, I'm going to miss out, whenever I feel that, I just acknowledge it now. And I understand, you know, the fundamentals behind what I'm looking at, and then I try to analyze it to see what is the upside potential and what is the downside risk. And if it doesn't make sense to me logically, then, you know, I just tell myself, hey, I missed the boat. If it pulls back, you know, I might have a second chance. And if not, that's okay too. There's plenty of opportunities around the corner. I don't want to um revenge trade, you know? I don't know if that's the term you've heard, but you don't want
Yeah,
to force an opportunity, because whenever you force that opportunity, it's usually not going to work in your favor. So the only situations where I've ever FOMO'd into anything was Bitcoin, for the most part. Um, and I try not to, like, to just bring up an example. You know, I was very close to FOMOing into, uh, let me find it really quickly. It's Luna. So Luna, or the Terra token, is a token I've been very, very bullish on, and that I spotted at, you know, sub $1. But I wanted to get an entry of 70 cents, and I found it at right around $1. It's now, you know, $18. Just in a very short amount of time, we've had that run up
yeah,
from $1 to $18. You know, why did I not FOMO in? Because I've got my principles that I've set for myself. And by keeping with the strategy, you're gonna save yourself from a lot of losses, I'd say. Whenever you break your rules, that's when problems begin to happen. So right there, I felt a lot of FOMO when it was crossing that $2 mark. I didn't FOMO in. Maybe I should have, but again, I'll be breaking one of my principles, um, that has ended up saving me a lot of money. So this is all a gamble. If I would have FOMOed into this, it would have paid off this time, but it could have very easily gone against me.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sounds good. So I guess you could say that you just have to keep reminding yourself that the space offers infinite possibilities, like new ones coming up all the time, and you know, but at the same time, you know, like I guess there could be some exceptions to the rule, like as well, like you said with Bitcoin, you actually were successful with the FOMOing, and you know, like I guess like if you have a project with crazy strong fundamentals and you are willing to hold long term, I guess you might make in
Yes.
some exceptions sometime.
Yes. Yeah, you have to look at it and make some exceptions sometimes, but weigh the risk versus the reward, I would say. And if it doesn't make sense, I wouldn't FOMO into it.
Yeah, and I guess maybe for the beginners, I guess the general rule would be that like overall I don't FOMO, because I guess this sounds like something that you can apply these exceptions when you have more experience, and you can be more confident on your research as well.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely I would say to have that conviction, if you do. Definitely have that conviction. And understand why you bought it in the first place. I talked to a lot of people and I asked them like, why did you buy this token? And they can't even give me a reason why. That's a big, big mistake in my book, because every single thing I buy, I know exactly why I buy it. There's a
Mm.
fundamental reason. Either there's a lot of user growth, it's way ahead of its competition, the market cap is super low in relative to its competition. There's certain fundamental reasons why.
Yeah, yeah, that's another important topic. I think that this having conviction, because I know for myself that if I'm just buying something to get a double or 4x or whatever, it's like if it takes a bit longer time than I expected, then it's so easy to trade to something else when you don't have any other kind of conviction.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess that's also one of the hardest things to have such a conviction that you can hold and believe in the project, like the trust in your initial the the research and everything. It seems like.
Yeah, it's very hard, especially when you go onto like Twitter and you search your ticker, of your bag, and everybody's, either fudding it or they're uh, talking bad about it, why it's going to fail or why it's going to go to zero. So if you're going to give into those alternate opinions, and not, trust in your own resolutions that you made up, then it's going to be very, very hard, I would say, to have that conviction. You got to, I would say, be receptive. Don't be closed-minded, because you're always going to have to adapt to the market, I'd say. Um, you might get proved wrong.
Mm.
Um, but I would say if you have that conviction and if you're able to outlast the market in the market being wrong, then that's good. But if the market eventually tells you, hey, you're wrong, don't don't tell the market it's wrong. The market's always gonna end up being right in the end.
Yeah, yeah, very good advice. I guess that's called like what they say, the marrying your bags, or
Yeah, don't
that's
marry
another.
them. Always
Yeah,
be willing to adapt your thesis and adapt the realities of what's going on.
yeah,
Don't be closed-minded.
yeah. So since you've been so long time in the space, and you have this journey of trading and now being in DeFi, like how if you think about the success you had, were there some like now we talk about a little bit kind of like this, you could say like these challenges, obstacles like FOMOing or the conviction or marrying your bags or this kind of thing. But how was it for you, like the trading journey, like when you started to be successful, like were there some epiphanies or what you would call it, like what made you more successful?
Um, I would say just being diligent and being consistent. If you're easily swayed, that is definitely gonna hurt you in your success. I would say that eventually you're gonna have to become confident in your own judgment and decision making. I think that was a big mistake for me early on. I didn't have the confidence in my own judgments to execute them, and I was swayed by other people. I think those have been probably the biggest mistakes in my book. Um, Now that I've acknowledged that, I've been doing the opposite of that. I've been more confident in my convictions and relying more on myself, on my own, logical judgments that I make versus, evaluating somebody else's opinion and then going along with it. I think that has really, really helped me because, um, really, I am an expert in this space. I shouldn't really be going off of opinions of people that have only been in here for 3 years. I've been through. This will be my third bull run. If I'm going off of opinions off of people, from that have only been here through one bull run before, and they're in this one currently, um, I think that's a disservice to myself. So I think that's a big one right there. Is just relying more on myself. I know that is not probably applicable to people, a lot of people watching this stream though, or this. So I think another great one would be, um, being diligent, being consistent and constantly being willing to explore new things. I think one of the biggest mistakes was feeling like everything was a scam out there, besides Bitcoin, like the Bitcoin maxi mindset and just the maxi mindset in general, because I saw that with Ethereum just recently with the explosion of Binance Smart Chain. You could literally replace Bitcoin maxi and replace Bitcoin with ETH, and that's how they were reacting with the more like the popularity of Binance Smart Chain recently. I really felt like a lot of the OGs, not all of them, but I saw some very prominent OG Ethereans, people that identify, with Ethereum for the most part, be very closed-minded in um, the ecosystem or the blockchain of Binance Smart Chain. They, in my book, they reacted a lot like the Bitcoin maxis that we've seen. I myself was a Bitcoiner. That's what I started with. Um, I identify as a Bitcoiner. I identify as an Ethereum. I don't think that there's any. Um, I don't think there's anything that should be stopping the two from uh, making that bond together. They are very complementary, and they're not competitive at all. I don't see why Bitcoiners like hate so much on Ethereum and like vice versa. Like they're both great and they serve very good functions for what they're trying to facilitate. And I think being open-minded to how this space evolves is the most critical thing. Um, Also, don't marry your bags, like how you said earlier. This is one thing that I have seen. Uh, I don't want to like be calling anybody out, but it's just this is the realities and a great example that I could give. Uh, People within like that have bought XRP, I see them that they have almost like married their bags to some extent. Um, I don't know what it is with XRP, um, but that's just an example that I've seen personally. So I would say don't marry your bags and be open-minded, um, and be consistent and be willing to learn a lot. Read, listen, watch, do. Doing has been the most beneficial thing in my book within DeFi. You cannot learn DeFi without doing DeFi.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good advice. Yeah, I think that's great. And like, trusting yourself, that comes, I guess, with the experience then, and that you get that later on. Yeah, that
Yeah.
important part.
Hopefully everybody sticks to this and will develop that. it always it develops. It's constantly improvement upon yourself, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, it's very important because when you look at social media like Twitter or YouTube, like you don't know what are the motives of the people as well. So that's also another part of it. You know, like even if they would be experienced people in the space, but you don't know like why they are messaging what they are messaging and that kind of stuff. So it can be tricky sometimes. You know,
Yeah,
to when you follow other people too much. You know.
yeah, absolutely. That's a great point you brought up about people shilling their bags, portraying it as alpha when really they're trying to get you to be their exit liquidity. You know, they want to dump on you. So
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. It's so. You told earlier that you are like 12 hours a day farming and doing that kind of stuff. So what would you say how your average day looks like then?
So I wake up pretty early. First thing I do is get on Twitter, Telegram, Discord. I just try to get plugged in with the most current feeds that I can get. I check my messages, see what's going on, check the charts as well, see what the overall market's doing, check if, market cap is a good indicator, like what's going on in general. Um, if we see the market cap up, that's a good indicator. So those are things that I do starting off the day. Then I just, sort to my business. I start to do my yield farming. I go through all my farms, collect my yields. I'll rebalance my accounts if I need to. I'll look for any new yield opportunities. Maybe yield has dried up in one of my farms, and I'll say, hey, there's better opportunity somewhere else. I'll go ahead and look for that opportunity, and I'll go ahead and deploy my assets there. So I do a lot of that. It takes up, a good part of my time just evaluating my farms, seeing new opportunities, keeping up with the flow of information is a big one to do. Just keeping up with the flows of information is a big one. Um, Doing technical analysis daily on Bitcoin to see where we could possibly be within the next couple of days to do short-term technical analysis, which would signal to me what type of risk levels I want to you know be allocated on. If I see us going sideways with Bitcoin, that's usually indicative of us having like a alt season, like a rally with alts. Or if Bitcoin's about to dump, we know that altcoins are going to massively dump. So that might tell me, hey, get out of altcoins and position myself more into Bitcoin because I buy the Bitcoin dips. That pays off really well for me. Um, Towards the end of the day, I try to do more relaxing things because, uh, you know, I spend at least 12 hours doing this, it's usually more. So just try to consume as much information really. Being able to consume a lot of information and filter out all the noise is a super critical skill within this space. I would say that is, I spend a lot of time just filtering out a lot of noise and then finding gems. Like if I'm trying to find gems, that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort to do that because it, it it's a it's like a hydrant of like a water hydrant of information. It just never stops, and it's so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sounds very interesting. So it's like a full time farmer's job tending the crops, I guess, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
I think
And then we have to check the prices on stuff constantly. You have to be vigilant on each of the assets that we're, positioned in. So it's a full-time job to do all of that.
yeah, yeah. Many people here now who are watching might not be familiar with the term yield farming. How would you like describe it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to describe it in a very general term because I believe that's what it is. Yield farming to me is a super general term and it's kind of vague. To me, all that means is, as like from a user's perspective, I deposit my assets into a smart contract and I receive a yield by doing that. That's essentially what I'm doing for the most part. Now, the intricacies of that are vast. Like, for example, I could go yield farming, and I think one of the biggest examples of this, like that we saw really take off in this space was Compound. Remember when Compound launched, there was yield farming that happened with it. That was kind of like the start of DeFi summer in my book. And this comp token uh, was literally I deposit my assets into this lending and borrowing platform and I receive this compound token. Now you could implement different strategies so you can maximize you know, the rewards of compound tokens that you would receive. But essentially, it was literally me depositing if you were to look at it from a traditional standpoint, it's me grabbing my cash or grabbing my money and depositing it into you know, a bank account per se, like a savings account. Because what they do is lend out your money, right? And you receive an interest for it. So that's pretty much what it is. If you want to have an analogy to it, just a very vague one, yield farming is something we do in traditional finance every day. It's just in DeFi, we call it by another name. So it's just seeking a yield off your deposit. Liquidity mining actually is something that is tied very close to it. And I think a lot of people get confused with the two. Liquidity mining is a very specific type of yield farming. Maybe if you like, I could explain that, give more clarity to that, what that is.
Yeah, if you can make it like a simplified, so that people can
So
understand it easily.
yeah, so liquidity mining is a type of yield farming that is very specific to DeFi. And what it is that you provide liquidity. So in other words, you just deposit your assets in a smart contract and you are rewarded for doing that. Um, we know that with regular mining, Bitcoin, you have to, it's a very capital intensive process. So to do that mining, well, liquidity mining is the same thing. It's very capital intensive. So you get rewarded by providing your capital. Same thing with proof of work mining. Um, in reality, you have to acquire these mining rigs, acquire the energy, and all that requires capital. Um, so the network rewards you for providing a service to it. That's the mining aspect. Um, so with liquidity mining, you're just being rewarded for providing your money to the service.
Yeah, what would you say? Like especially for beginners, it might seem like that you have these high yields. You know, you can have hundreds of percents per year. You know, like this kind of yield, which of course might not last the whole year. But anyway, it's like so. Um, where does the yield come from? I mean, I guess when you're providing liquidity, it's easier to understand. I guess it's you get like a fees from the exchange or something, but otherwise, like what are all the places the money comes from?
So there's a saying in DeFi, if if you don't know where the yield is coming from, you're the yield. So um, first thing that I do before I buy a token or get into any of these yield farms is understand where is this yield coming from? Is the token, a value accrual is there a value accrual mechanism within this, within this project or this protocol? That's what I'm looking for. How is the value accrual happening? Is it taking money from me and paying it out to, earlier entrants? If that's the case, I might not be inclined to get into that, because to me, that's very similar to it'll be like a transparent Ponzi. If the deposits from new investors is used to pay the previous investors. I think that's the definition of one.
Yeah.
Um, so I like to see things that are receiving a yield from a sustainable source. I don't think that, hoping for the next person to jump into this yield farm is a quite sustainable source. Now, if we can maintain that, level of users and receive a yield just from a maintained user base, to me, that's very interesting. And then I would start to look into that more.
Yeah, that's very interesting and good to know, definitely, because it seems like now, especially this, like you mentioned earlier, the Binance Smart Chain, I see it as a very good training ground for especially for the beginners to start farming, and you can get if you want, you can get quite cheap lessons sort of there as well, So it's like might not be so expensive to practice over there as also because Ethereum is quite expensive now, so it's
Yeah, so nowadays, the newer ways of making a profit within crypto is yield farming, making your assets productive, versus just hoping that the price goes up. So we're also able to speculate like before, but on top of that, we've got the added benefit of making our assets productive, so that we could receive a passive income from them. So that has been a huge boom to this space, I believe, and one that I believe would make it very sustainable, because it actually does provide services and products that are needed, that are currently being facilitated through centralized, parties. But we all know what the implications of that are. Trustless systems, I think, are a better way of doing things in the world, and they're going to have a great product market fit going forward.
yeah, absolutely. So if you would start today from scratch, and so how would you proceed? How would you start?
So if you're asking me like from a no coiner perspective, I would highly recommend for you to understand what Bitcoin is and why that blockchain and Bitcoin specifically, why that is so important. If you don't know why Bitcoin has a value, that would be the first step in the right direction, I'd say. Then after that, understand why decentralized platforms like Ethereum are so critical for, I think, for Bitcoin to really take off. Um, I would say learn those things at a fundamental level. Learn what Bitcoin is, learn what Ethereum is at a fundamental level. Once you've done that, start to explore the other verticals within this space. We have DeFi, we have, you know, now we're having like creators come into this space with NFTs. Like that technology with non-fungible tokens has really opened up the doors for um, a way for people to take charge of their um, intellectual property. I think that's a huge development, and that's something that as big as what we saw back in the ICO days. NFTs, A lot of people, when they think of NFTs, they first think of like art pieces and artwork or artists, right? I think that's a really big disservice to what the grand vision of what NFTs could actually do in the world. That is just one little small part of it. NFTs is massive. That technology is a massive technology that is going to be um, adopted into all facets of life, I believe. We're just seeing the beginning of that. So I would say start to understand the different verticals that is being developed across these decentralized blockchains. So I think that's a great thing to understand understand things at a fundamental level. Also, I think it's really critical to get involved with a community. To do this by yourself, it's pretty lonely. I can tell you that from experience. I've done this for many, many years by myself. Never took part in any community, never put myself, you know, out there in the public, nothing like that until very recently. And I'd say that's the biggest thing that um, one of the best things I've ever done. I wish I'd done that way sooner because I've just seen the huge benefit I've had by having a community that you're involved with and you can feel part of. I think is super beneficial for anybody starting out. Unfortunately, I didn't have that starting out. Like I started out super early. The only place I had really to form a community at the time that I kind of did was the Bitcoin talk forums. But there was like no Telegram groups or anybody on Twitter or nobody on YouTube really at that time. So to have people coming in right now, they're getting in at a great time because it's making it so much easier too to get into it as well.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Starting with the basics and then networking with like-minded people and
Yeah,
maybe
because
learning
it
together
some
and build together.
yeah, absolutely. Because it's not sometimes in this space it's not what you know, but it's who you know too. Who you know is, has been a huge benefit to me as well.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. And yeah, during this summit, I hope people also know will get an understanding of all the various kind of opportunities and styles and ways of doing things. Like trading and investing, and so I hope this space opens up more with this event as well.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. What do you look forward in the future in this space? What are you most excited about at this moment? Is it NFTs or?
Yeah, I'm really excited about NFTs. I'm just excited about the mainstream finally being uh, able to see this stuff firsthand. Before, nobody cares about money. Like if you talk to anybody about money, unless you're, trying to give them money for free, I don't think most people like really care about talking about that. Like they don't care about economics. They don't care about how money works. The Federal Reserve. People don't care about that, but people care about, their, famous stars like celebrities. Their people that they watch on YouTube. All that stuff. Like they care about that stuff. So to introduce a medium that they can get into crypto, I think that's awesome. So I'm super excited about that. And also more of the I would say making the DeFi ecosystem more equitable to all participants, no matter no matter what your wealth is. We know that Ethereum DeFi is the most decentralized form of these, primitives, but it's extremely expensive. It's prohibitive, and a lot of people are barred due to the price tag that it is to use the blockchain. Um, I'm just really looking forward to more decentralized alternatives for people that, of our lesser means that don't have the money to spend $100 on one transaction.
Mhm.
So I'm really looking forward to that, really.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're not the only one, and also I could mention that, like, for people who don't have the capital to put in the space, and try things out, is like there are like a lot of opportunities where you can participate in some projects and they reward you from that as well. So that's also one opportunity to they have these incentives that if you contribute to some projects, they will reward you as well. So that's a nice way to have a community and also get something out of it as well, like money wise.
Yeah, it's a great bootstrapping method. Um,
Yeah,
it's great. I think it's great.
yeah, absolutely. So where can people find you? Like, what do you offer nowadays, and where are you broadcasting? And
Yeah, if I could just share my screen, I can bring up my
sure.
website. So yeah, if anybody wants to check out my services, I've got the website decentralizedfinanceinstitute.com, and I provide a course that walks you through the very basics from start to finish of the practical applications of using these DeFi primitives, all these services and products. And this fills in a lot of knowledge gaps. Some people, even people that have been through several bull runs before, if they have never approached DeFi before, there are tons of knowledge gaps that I've seen that they have. So this fills in all of those knowledge gaps, walks you through a step-by-step process to be able to get into using DeFi. That's been really great for people that have got it. They've been loving the services, as well as like this private Telegram group where I have access to my signals, my DeFi strategies that I implement, like the yield farming strategies. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much what I have. I've also got some one-on-one consultation and coaching that I provide as well. So you can find all that at my website at decentralizedfinanceinstitute.com.
Yeah, that's great, and I can say that I can highly recommend even the free group and your YouTube channel. You do a lot of great YouTube lives there and a lot of practical information as well. So
Yeah, yeah. So I also got a YouTube channel where I provide a lot of free information. I do my live streaming as well. I try to do it about every day during the week. Sometimes I do it on the weekend. Um, and this has been great for people that get into my course. I'm providing people a webinar session too. Whenever you sign up for this, the trading signals, I provide a webinar exclusively for my private members. But you can also join the public one that I have that is very, very active. You can go to my Twitter page. I got a link tree with a bunch of links there as well. But it's very active. I've got a Telegram. Let me pull that up here. And we've got 2,500 people right there, members. Yeah, it's great. I love being part of my community with everybody.
yeah, absolutely. I for myself I have learned a lot there, and it's great stuff. And thank you for DeFiTrader for this interesting interview.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. Glad everybody was able to attend.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of good information here to learn from. Yeah. All right. So I'll see you guys at the second part of the interview.